Hey guys, it's Victor Costa. How you doing? A lot of people have been asking, how do you know when it's time to get a divorce from your workout routine? How do you know when it's time to get rid of some exercises, introduce new ones? How do you know when it's time to start breaking up the body parts a little differently? And how do you know sometimes when you're not making progress? How do you know if it's diet related or not? So let's talk a little bit about that. So the obvious answer is when you stop making progress would be a good time to start assessing what you've been doing. But think about this for a minute. If you've been coming into the gym day in and day out for a year sometimes, doing the same routine, and you do the same exercises in the same manner, the same form, with the same weight, in the same direction, almost standing in the same spot of the gym, there's a good chance that you have tuckered out that particular area of the body when you're doing those exercises. You have really focused on those vectors of the body, because when you're training, the weights hit particular lines of the body depending upon how you exercise. If I'm standing in this direction and I'm pulling up and my shoulders are like this, there's a good chance I'm going to be hitting this vector of my body. If my shoulders are down and my hands are maybe out a little bit wider and I'm curling, I may be hitting this vector of the body. So if you've been coming into the gym day in and day out, hitting the same vector or area or direction of the body, there's a good chance that you've done as much as you can in that particular line. And you may have tuckered out, that's a scientific term, tuckered out that vector of the body. In other words, you've trained that area or that line of the body so much that it no longer responds. And there's two things that are wrong with that. Number one, you have that area that's not responding. And number two, you have all this other area of the body that has yet to be exercised, that has yet to be tapped into. So you can look at that as an opportunity. So here's the deal. If you're not progressing and you're doing the same exercises day in and day out for a very long period of time, you probably have overtrained that particular line of the body, or you've gotten as much out of it as you possibly can. It's time to maybe start exploring some different lines of the body and different vectors of the body. And that doesn't necessarily mean that you throw exercises away. That means you can start maybe doing them with a different technique. Maybe if you were using free weights, you can try a machine that puts your body at a different angle. But one way to be sensitive to that is to, when you grab the weights, and you know the familiar feeling that you normally have, when you're normally training, you know the area and the line of the body that it hits when you're really sensitive to it. What you try to do is try to shift that energy from that particular line of the body that you normally hit to some other line relatively close by within the same muscle group. So if I'm used to doing curls like this, maybe all of a sudden I want to adjust my grip, maybe change the direction of those the direction of where the weights are coming onto my body, and I'm going to be touching different areas and vectors of the same body part. So I'm going to explore those other areas. So if that's not working, when you've been doing the same training day in and day out, just explore some different vectors of the body, some different lines of the body by shifting up maybe your techniques, by putting your grip either closer or wider, using heavier or lighter weight, shifting from a machine to a free weight or vice versa. And so the same thing with the chest. If you feel as though you've already maxed out a particular vector or line of the chest, it's time to shift that weight to another line. It's very easy with bench pressing. You can always adjust the benches relatively easily and start bringing in energy to different vectors of the body. Now, if you've been doing that already, if you've been kind of hitting the body from every angle possible, there's a possibility, and I've said this before, that you have kind of touched on every area of the body, but you haven't trained any of it. So it sounds like a lot of work and nothing's happening because you're not spending enough time or building enough connection or relationship with any one particular vector of the body. I hope that makes a lot of sense. So the idea is, if you're putting too much time into one line or giving not enough time to any particular line or vector of the body, the body can't respond. It doesn't know what you're doing. So what you want to do is when you make these subtle changes and shifts, you want to stick with them for a little bit. You don't want to go do one set here, 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 one set here. That's not giving enough attention to any one particular line. So that's something else to be mindful of. Now, if you're already hitting every vector of the body, your training is absolutely perfect and you're not progressing, then it's time to start exploring the diet. There's a possibility that if you're really training hard, you feel it sort of all over your entire body, you know how to train, you know what you've been doing for a long time, then maybe it's not necessarily time to change the routine. It could be time to change your diet. And what you don't want to do is do all of this at the same time, because then it becomes a confound. You're not sure what was working and what wasn't. You might have had a perfect routine, you just weren't being fueled by the diet properly. Or your diet might be really bad, but your routine was perfect. So these are a bunch of things to keep in mind. So if you've hit a wall, figure out how to kind of go around it, okay? Start by maybe paying attention to some different lines of the body and different vectors of the body, which means you don't necessarily throw curls out or you don't necessarily throw bench press out. You start approaching it maybe from a different direction or a different angle, and be very conscious of where the weights were coming into the body, the energy that you're normally using, and where they're coming now. Try to focus by either using your posture, your mind, your hands. Get to position your body in any way that you feel those weights and the energy of those weights coming into a different area or vector of the body. I've said vector quite a bit. So I hope you liked the video. I wish you guys all the best. Peace, love, and muscles. Visit me at Vicsnatural. Say hello on Facebook, and take care.